behind what you do, why you do what you do, because it resonates really well with millennials and the Gen Z generation coming up as well. Surveys have shown that millennials would actually much prefer to give to a company that donates to charity or has an ethical arm behind it. So as well as you actually leaving a good footprint on this planet, as well as you actually making an impact, it actually makes business sense because people will actually buy your product over another product purely because you make an impact in the world. Another good reason on why Find the Why is that it enables you to attract great talent. So for our business, as I said, we started it with only $7,000. It's only recently that we've been able to actually bring in some investment, but we generated a 6-figure business without any other external investment, just that $7,000. And one of the reasons why we've been able to grow that business, and I attribute it to our phenomenal team. So we've got a team of 9 now. These are 2 members of our team. So you've got Elena and Ben. So Ben helps us with our product design. Elena is our head of marketing. And the funny thing about both of these individuals, they both had extremely high paying jobs, doing really, really well. And I didn't actually go out to source their talent. They both actually came to knock on our door to find out more about Vitae and how they could lend their time and efforts into pouring into our business. So actually having a great cause behind why you do what you do enables great talent to actually be drawn to you, and for you to attract talent which your competitors potentially won't be able to get hands on. So both of these individuals have worked as actual volunteers or part-time for the business, and more recently we've been able to bring them on and actually give them contracts. So that's another reason why it's important to find your why and find the purpose behind why you started your business. Another great benefit as well is that it helps sourcing your ambassadors. So just to list some of the ambassadors here, so that's Ava DuVernay, who's a phenomenal director from the States. She's got over 1 million followers on Twitter. Emily Sandé, who most people would know, is a singer here from the UK. Michelle Williams from Destiny's Child. Romelu Lukaku. Usually at this point I make a joke about him being from the greatest football team on the planet, but unfortunately Manchester United is currently rubbish, so I can't make that joke. But we've also had ambassadors like Pharrell Williams, Branson again, I always plug him, and Philip Schofield. So the amazing thing about having a purpose behind why you do what you do is it enables you to connect to these influencers, to these celebrities, to these amazing individuals that may have a similar heart to yours. Their heart may beat for the same things your heart beats for. So like collectively, all these celebrities and influencers have millions and millions of followers, and to the standard business you would have to pay thousands if not millions for them to share about your business. But every single one of these people have actually shared about Vitae free of charge. And that's another great reason why it actually makes business sense to have a cause and to have an undergirding purpose behind why you do what you do. So these are just a few really key points I just wanted to highlight on how to find the why. So this is me speaking to a few other entrepreneurs that I've been liaising with to kind of understand why they started the businesses that they started. And these are 3 things that have really come as trends whenever I've asked these questions. So question number 1, what pains you the most? Question number 2, what pains others around you? Question number 3, what would you do if money wasn't an obstacle? If you can sit down and actually answer these questions for yourself, often you will actually find that there's a deeper purpose, there's a deeper longing within you to actually make a difference in this world and to make an impact in this world. And the beauty of actually finding the why and finding the purpose behind why you do what you do is, for me personally, every single time I go into the office, every single time we sell a watch, every single time we actually hit that next milestone, we know that it's actually equipped and enabled us to make more of an impact in the world. So it gives me a much deeper purpose than just living just to make money and living just for the ins and outs and that non-stop cycle that this life can be. And actually asking yourself, what would you do if money wasn't an obstacle? I think personally, coming from the background I've come from and the background many people have come from, is that we dream so small, we dream with limits so often, we dream with what could be in our hands right away, as opposed to actually going after what is actually in our hearts and what we dream for. So what would you do if money wasn't an obstacle? And actually reverse engineer that. See where you actually would like to go, where you would ultimately like to go. And how I see it in this life is often we view our dreams and our visions as this massive mountain that we can never ever summit and we can never climb. But if you can actually do one thing day in, day out, if you can take one little step, one small step, before you know it, you'll look back and you'll see that you've actually climbed the summit of that mountain. And that's the same for that business idea that you've had that you thought was maybe too big, that was beyond you. If you can actually take one step day in, day out, before you know it, you can reach it and you can create that business that you want to create. And the final point just to highlight is actually how to make the impact. So many people have their whys, they have their reasons for wanting to start a business, and sometimes it's not as straightforward as your business specifically actually being the solution to that problem. So for us, selling watches technically is not a direct solution to the lack of education across sub-Saharan Africa, but my passion is watches, my passion is fashion. So these are some ways where you can actually take your passion and other areas of life and actually marry that with your business acumen to still make an impact in the world. So one of those things being supply chain and another one being who you hire. And those two things are quite intrinsically linked. So for us, more recently, we've actually hired a team of 4 people out in Ghana. And what they're doing is they're helping us with the back end of our marketing. And for us, we really wanted to be able to not only provide a solution in terms of education, but provide a solution in terms of creating jobs and creating wealth for people across sub-Saharan Africa. So we purposely went to hire people in other regions in the world where there is a job shortage. So actually looking at your supply chain and who you hire is a very key way in which you can actually make the impact you want to make. A friend of mine actually runs a coffee business called Change Please. And what he does with his coffee business is he only hires the homeless. So he trains the homeless, he enables them to get housing, and then he provides jobs to them. So it's not always as simple, as clear cut as my business model may be, where with the profits you support a child for education, or with the profits you make the impact you want to make. Often it can actually be just through who you hire. If you can just be extremely intentional with the people you bring on board within your business, you can actually make that social change that you seek to make. And the final thing, as I said, is the donation of profits. So that's how it works with us. Not only do we look at our supply chain, not only do we look at who we hire, we also look at donating our profits. So as I said, whenever we sell a watch, we distribute 3 items of school uniform to a child in need to see them through school for a year. Another thing we do as well is recently we've been giving children solar lights. So with these solar lights, with 1 hour worth of charge in the sunlight, they actually provide 10 hours worth of solar light. So we sat down with the charities, and after the school uniform, we asked what were their other bugging needs, what else was impacting the children, that they're seeing the need on the ground. And what they said was that for so many of the children, electricity is a problem. And when at night time they have to burn kerosene and other harmful fuels just to be able to read at night. So we partnered with a friend of mine who's an engineer, and he was able to produce these solar lights. So now, whenever we sell a watch, we actually provide a solar light as well to children in need. And these lights last for 10 years. As I said, 1 hour's charge lasts for 10 hours. So children don't have to actually trek for hours at night time to be able to find a good source of light to get their education. So it's just about actually going down on the ground, speaking to the charities, speaking to the people who know the need the most. Often we want to give money, or we want to make a donation or make an impact. But often what I find is that people may say that 10% of our profits, for instance, goes to X, Y charity, for instance. And what we found as our business is that the reason people are drawn to our company is because they know specifically where their money's going. They know that it's going to a specific region in the world, and they're specifically providing the items of Uniform, or they're specifically providing the solar light. So instead of actually linking your business to say 10% is donated to charity, for instance, it's about specifically finding a cause and specifically finding a need in the world by those that are the most knowledgeable about it, and actually partnering with them arm in arm to help them solve the world's problems. So yeah, in summary, that kind of summarizes how I found my why, how you can go about finding your why, and not only that, how you can actually make the impact you seek to make. These are a few links for us, so that's the social media handles. So my @ is William Adwesi, Vitae London, and as I said, from next month you will actually be able to buy shares within our business. So that's vitaelondon.com/pages/Vitae Investment. So if you wanted to buy shares in our company, the option's there next month. And I actually want to open up for any questions that anyone has in the audience. I'd love to answer them. So yeah, just raise your hand and I'll bring the microphone around. Thank you. Any questions?
We just give a round of applause to this brother over here. Come on. The guy's talking about some things today. I was going to clap as well to say well done for getting £100,000 investment. Well done for getting angel investors. That's fantastic. A lot of what you're talking about is corporate responsibility and giving back to charity, giving back to Ghana, giving back to Africa. What do you think makes your company so successful? Is it that you're also responsible for charity, you're also responsible for giving back? Do you feel that that also helps with the success of your organisation?
So yeah, that's a great question. And in line with what I said earlier, I actually think having a cause and having a purpose actually provides commercial viability. So I definitely believe the fact that we have a cause has enabled us to resonate with a lot of the diaspora across the world. As I said, we've sold in over 30 countries. It's allowed us to actually stand out in the market and have a USP where we're bringing out new products with different product-based USPs, but actually having a purpose within our business has proved to be really significant in drawing the attention of the influencers, the celebrities that have come on board to champion our cause and to actually allow us to be distinct in a really, really crowded space. So I definitely think it's enabled me to work harder than I've ever worked on a business because I know the impact we're making, but also it's allowed our investors, it's allowed our customers to want to back what we're doing because they see the impact we're making. So yeah, it's definitely been beneficial.
Thank you for your amazing talk. Just wanted to ask about when you started the business, and you started with the cause first, from what it sounds like. You started with the need first. I'm also a person that has a business that has a need and sees a cause and wants to help certain things. So how do you work backwards from the cause and start, okay, so the stepping stones to know how to help working backwards?
That's a great question. I guess how I look at it and how I look at everything is actually just looking at what's in your hands. So what are you best equipped to do? What sets your heart on fire? What gets you up in the morning even if money wasn't a thing? So that's the first thing I looked at. Like, I've always loved fashion. I've always loved creativity. Like, for the first couple of years of running so we've been going for just under 3 years. For the first couple of years of running the business, I was literally making no money at all. But every single day I was much more excited than when I was working in the city because I was working on something I was really passionate about. So the first thing is to actually just look at what's in your hands. Like, what are you really equipped to do? What are you uniquely equipped to do in the world? Because I feel like oftentimes even what was once a weakness in your life or something you had to overcome has uniquely equipped you to solve a problem. So what specifically equips you to solve that problem? And then once you've figured that out, then you can marry it with the cause if there isn't a cause already tied to what you're doing, if that makes sense. So that's how I was able to do it. So is there another microphone roaming around? So yeah. Is the other mic on?
said you started off with 7,000, you talked to the missus and the rest of it. Some of us in this room are ready to take that step and they've already done it. Can you just talk to us about the emotional tension and your mind frame at the time to take that courageous step?
Yeah, amazing. So in terms of the emotional tension, I think to be an entrepreneur, I think you need to be slightly crazy. And the reason I say that is because you want to charter waters and territories that haven't really been charted before. You want to create a new lane. And I just sat back before I started the business. I looked at my competitors. I said I made sure my watches were as good or if not better than all of my competitors at a similar price point. So we actually use, we're more water resistant than our competitors, better quality glass, and I put a lot of effort into the design. So I thought to myself, all right, cool, I've created a product that stands out in the market just because it's as good, if not better than my competitors, plus I make an impact in the world. So to me, for just thinking crazy thoughts, I thought to myself, it's a no-brainer. If other businesses have been able to scale, they're human beings just like me with 24 hours. If I can just believe and I can put in the work every single day, there's no reason why I can't build that business. So in the really early days, making the leap is super fun, it's exciting, and then 6 months down the line, when the money dries up, and you think to yourself, what did I do? And you're looking to your wife like, oh goodness, I've dropped us in it. That's when it gets super tough, but I feel like so many people give up at that point. But if you can actually just persevere through that barrier, remember why you're doing what you're doing, and also as an entrepreneur, often we never celebrate the wins. I find when I reach the next milestone, because I'm so concerned about all the other things or what's going to come tomorrow, I don't celebrate today. Whereas if you can actually take stock of how far you've come and those wins, and really just narrow down on those wins and see how you can explode them and 10x on them, you can find that there's actually a hope and a future for the business. So that's how I was able to overcome it, and just having an amazing circle around you. Seek to have other entrepreneurs around you that are on the journey, that are going through the same struggle, because that's really helped me, because I know that although I am crazy, I'm not that crazy. So that's how I'd answer it.
Thank you so much for what you do. So my mom's here. She could actually talk, but she just wants me to talk on her behalf. She's right there. So she's built a school in Ghana, and it's almost at its final stages where she wants to go back to Ghana and live there and open up the thing. But she's always stayed away from investors, because she's always believed that they would have a percentage of the school, and she's put her money into it. She's done cleaning jobs, and then later on she became an early years educationist, whatever it's called. I can't remember the title she used to have, but now she's retired. So she's put her money into building this school, and she's always believed that if anybody wants to help her continue the school, they will have to have a percentage. Is there any way that she can find any investors that would be willing to help her from where she is right now?
Yeah, great. Two ways to kind of solve that. One is the beautiful world of crowdfunding. So donation-based crowdfunding sites like GoFundMe could be a great solution. But I would actually I'd probably go against that mindset, if that makes sense. Personally, when I started Vitae, I was similar. I didn't know much about the investment world. I didn't want to give away equity in the business. But then it dawned on me that I'd rather own 50% of something worth so many million than 100% of something a lot smaller. So it's about approaching it with that mindset and understanding that bringing investors on board, although you're giving something away for the benefit of what you're building. You're giving something away so that it can be larger than what it would be on your own. So it's about trying to approach it with that mindset and understanding that giving that equity away, you're actually probably going to be enabled to impact more children's lives, and that's what it's all about, as opposed to full ownership, if that makes sense. So that's how I'd probably answer it. I think I've got time for one more before I get in trouble. So. Okay, one more after that, if I'm allowed.
Hi, congratulations. I've just been looking on your website. You've got some beautiful watches.
Thank you.
I just wanted to ask about reaching out to celebrities for endorsement. Was that a conscious conscious marketing decision, and how did you approach them? Was it literally like knocking on doors through their PAs and using?
So yeah, it was super conscious and sometimes a little bit stalkerish, if I'm completely honest. So I mastered Twitter. Like, I'm really good on Twitter. I love Twitter, and I found that you can find like people on Twitter that are talking about what you may be passionate about. So what I found is I listed like my ideal celebrities, and then from that the list got smaller when I saw the things they were like regularly speaking about. And then on social media you often find out what events these celebrities are going to, what events they're presenting at, what events they're speaking at. And again, it's a little bit stalkerish, but through that, you can find ways and means to be in the same room as them at the same time. So with Richard Branson, for instance, the key thing for us is we became a Virgin ambassador, which enabled access to Branson, which was great. But aside from that, to get more one-on-one time from him, I saw that he had an event in London called Virgin Disruptors. The tickets were super expensive, but I thought it was well worth it. And then there was a call to action at Virgin Disruptors if people want to present about their ideas to the audience for a minute. So I went, I presented my idea, he really loved it, and then I got to have that one-on-one time with him there and then as well. So we've been super intentional about identifying the celebrities that would be drawn to our brand, finding out where they would be, finding out if we know a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend who has a cousin who has a sister who may know them, and just trying to be in the same space as these people and raise awareness that way. So that's what's worked really well for us. So one last question.
I just wanted to know what aspects did you take into consideration before starting your business in terms of the supply chain? How did you actually go about to? You kind of told us, gave us ideas on how to access angel investors, but in terms of like the structure, gaining, recruiting your employees, your partners, gaining your materials, your watches. How did you do it?
So I'm really passionate about people failing forward. So oftentimes, I feel like so many people are stinted from starting businesses because they want to have everything figured out. They want to know every single aspect of a business before they launch and start that business. So what I found with Vitae is that, I ran my first business when I was 19. That business failed after a couple of years. But all the lessons I learned from that in terms of hiring, in terms of all those processes, equipped me to ensure Vitae would be successful. So it's about doing all you can to read the right books. Like, YouTube has such a plethora of information. There's no reason why you can't find out information on supply chain, on all those aspects. But at the same time, I would just say start small and start as soon as possible. With our factories, there was a point where we had 30 factories within our WhatsApp. And what I would do is I would screenshot one factory that would give me a minimum order quantity, send it to the other factory so they would bring down their minimum order quantity. Then I'll get the price from another factory and play that off the other factories as well. So I was just bartering all these different factories off one another to get the minimum order quantity right down and the pricing right down. And these are all lessons that you just learn once you dive in and you struggle with it, but it's a beautiful struggle. So I can probably answer more about those specifics later on, but those would be the key ways in which I was able to do it. I've just been given the nod that I need to clear the stage, but my stand is literally around the corner, 10:34. You can find out more information about the investment round. Also, there's 10% off watches, 20% off our sovereign rings, just around there, so you can come around and speak to me. Thank you so much for your time.